Hello friend, this is Ella from iHave.com, and today we're going to be exploring foodie fiction, novels that feature food prominently. Are you excited? Let's go! My mission in life is to find books that elevate the mind, move the heart, delight the senses, and uplift the soul, and then share all my findings with you. Today we're going to be discussing novels about food. Novels that food is a major plot line in the book. I call it foodie fiction. To start with, let's explore Like Water for Chocolate. Now, I discovered this book by seeing the movie first, and I loved the movie so much. And then I wanted to read the book. I read the book and I loved it even more. This is a fantastic, magical, dramatic book about a young woman who is living in Mexico. She cannot be with the man that she loves, and so she expresses all her feelings in her cooking. And when people eat the food that she cooks, they can feel what she was feeling. So if she was sad, they begin to cry. If she was happy, they become happy, and so on. This book is fantastical. After I've read it, I became very curious about Mexican cuisine. I had to try mole sauce, so I went on a mission to try to find a restaurant that makes it. It is absolutely wonderful, fantastic, yummy. It will make you hungry, so be careful. But, what a book. Next, we're going to be talking about Heartburn by Nora Ephron. Nora Ephron, who is famous for being involved with movies such as When Harry Met Sally or You've Got Mail. But before she got involved with making funny movies, she wrote this novel called Heartburn. And Heartburn is a fictionalized version of real-life events that happened to her, namely her going through a divorce. And the story is about a woman who's a food writer. She talks about food and recipes in a newspaper or a magazine, and she has to go through this heartbreak of her divorce. And so it contains description of food and recipes and how the main character expresses her feelings through the food that she is making. It is funny, it is lighthearted, it contains fantastic descriptions, and I think you will enjoy it. Now, we're going to be talking about American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. This is a novel about a psychopath who is also obsessed with food. And this novel contains fantastical descriptions of these very beautiful meals that this man eats in very fancy restaurants. And this food sounds so good and so delicious. I felt myself rooting for this guy. I mean, I wanted to like this guy. Unfortunately, he's not a very nice person. He commits some horrific acts in the novel. This is a funny novel that is also deep, dark, and disturbing. And on a side note, it mentions Donald Trump several times in it. And when you consider that this book was published, I think, in 1990 or 91, so it adds an interesting touch to modern day events. Next on my list, I have a wonderful book. It's called The Dinner by Herman Koch. And this book is about two couples. They're eating dinner at a very fancy restaurant, and events begin to transpire, and there's a twist at the end that you completely didn't expect. So it's interesting, it's dark, it's disturbing, but there's a lot of description about the food, the dinner that they're eating. It features prominently in the novel. And there are many, many passages that are extremely evocative. In fact, I'm going to read a couple for you, so hang on. So here is a passage where he is describing the size of the portions, the fact that they are very small in this fancy restaurant. The void here, that part of the plate on which no food at all was present, had clearly been raised to a matter of principle. It was as though the empty plate was challenging you to say something about it, to go to the open kitchen and demand an explanation. You wouldn't even dare, the plate said, and laughed in your face. Wow, isn't that fantastic? I wish I had wrote that. Here's another passage from the novel. I bet my brother fucks the way he eats, that he stuffs himself into a woman in the same way he stuffs a beef croquette into his mouth. Wow, another fantastical and evocative passage. Next on my list is Spoonful Chronicles, a novel that I wrote. And this book comes with recipes. So it tells the story of a woman who, in order to decipher the secret to her destiny, she has to remember everything she has eaten and look for clues for why her life has gone down a very different path than what she has. And the book comes with a mailing list that you can subscribe to, and you will receive one recipe a week over about 11 weeks. So you can read the novel and then cook the recipes in it as well. Next on my list is My Year of Meat by Ruth Ozeki. Now, this is a story about a woman who is trying to produce a cooking show in the US for the Japanese market. And it describes many scenes that shows you how the American culture is misunderstood in Japan, and vice versa, how the American people, what they think about Japanese culture is frequently very superficial. So it's about this woman who's in the middle between these two cultures, somebody who's a Japanese American, and she is trying to navigate both cultures while producing the show. A really fun, lighthearted read. Next is The 100-Foot Journey by Richard Moraes. Now, when I picked up this book, in my mind I was thinking, please don't be as bad as the movie, because I saw the movie first, and that was a very big mistake. The movie is terrible. The book is far better. And this book tells the story of Indian cuisine clashing with French cuisine. So it's about an Indian family. They arrive in a small town somewhere in France, and they open an Indian restaurant right across the road from a very fine French restaurant. It's about two restaurant owners clashing and then trying to find a way to accommodate each other. It's funny, it's interesting, and it's also really cool the way both cuisines are described. Next we have Pow by Mo Yan. Now, isn't that a cool name for a novel? Pow. Now, Mo Yan is from China, and he won the Nobel Prize for Literature, and that intrigued me to try to read some of his novels. And Mo Yan is famous for depicting rural life in China. So he focuses on life in a small village. And this is a story about a young man who is obsessed with eating meat. It's the sort of story where after you read it, you kind of wish you to become a vegetarian. I mean, many people might be converted to vegetarianism after reading this. It's because the way it describes the slaughter of animals, the way meat is processed, this boy's obsession with eating meat, for example, there's one passage where the mother of the boy tells him that one day she will roast a whole cow, bury him inside it, and then let him eat his way out. I mean, the image is so disturbing and disgusting. There's another scene where a food competition is described, and it's not something that will make you want to eat immediately afterwards. So this is a very detailed novel that describes all sorts of nuance of life in this little town, and how different people of different social classes are interacting with each other. It's a very interesting novel. Now we're going to have The Restaurant Critic's Wife by Elizabeth Leban. And as the title indicates, it's about a woman navigating the life of being a wife and mother, as her husband, who's a restaurant critic, is obsessed with staying anonymous. He has to review all these very expensive, very fancy restaurants, and he is obsessed with this idea. He doesn't want anyone to discover his identity. He wants to be treated the way any average person is treated when he enters the restaurant. So he has all these disguises. He puts all kinds of restrictions on his wife. He doesn't want her to socialize with anybody because he's worried that his identity might become public. He's worried that people want to be friends with his wife because of his job. So it's about the wife trying to navigate all this and navigate being a mother and everyday life despite his obsession with his identity. It's a fun, lighthearted, easy breezy read. I hope you enjoy it. And finally on my list I have The Vegetarian by Han Kang. This is a Korean novel. It won the Booker Prize, and it tells the story of a woman who, after a very disturbing nightmare, decides she doesn't want to eat meat at all. And so she declares to her family she's going to be a vegetarian. And her family reacts in a very strange way to her decision. Her husband, her father, her mother, everybody just rejects this idea, and everybody's trying to force her to eat meat, and there's this huge struggle, and things just spiral out of control in her personal life. This is a very deep, dark, and disturbing novel. It's not very long. It's actually quite short. However, it leaves you feeling. It left me feeling worried and anxious. It's very thought-provoking. However, the not wanting to eat meat features prominently in this novel, so it totally belongs on this list. So here's my list. What did you think of it? Is there anything you would add to this list? I hope you found something here that intrigued you and you would want to pick up and read. The best way to stay in touch with me is join my mailing list. Go to my website, iHeart.com, and look for the link that says free ebook. Everybody who joins my mailing list receives a free ebook. I hope you have a fantastic day and see you on the other side. Bye-bye.